Okay, welcome to another edition of The Invisible Hand on the Fireground. This is episode 18. And this week I have some special guests. I have retired Deputy Chief Tommy Fox from the FDNY and Lieutenant Ray Calinan, also from the FDNY. This week, the show is actually sort of a rebroadcast of a episode of Due Battalion Chief, which is a podcast that I do for fire engineering. And with their permission, I want to thank Bobby Halton and the staff at Fire Engineering for letting me rebroadcast my show. And I took out the bits that were kind of spiritual, and I think you're going to enjoy the show. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Tommy Fox and Ray Calinan.
Story. It was a vacant building we had on 100, and it was a frame. It was up in 158th Street in like 3rd Avenue. He was a senior man in 60 engine, and they gave him the nozzle. And the chief was a guy named Slevin. Jimmy Slevin. Yeah. He was acting deputy chief. And anyway, we come up as a tower ladder, 60 engines there, and he's in front of the building. I could so remember this. Like, he's in front of the building, and everyone's chomping at the bit to go in, and he's like, nobody in the building. And we're like, come on. Yeah. And he was very adamant about nobody in the building, right? So, the heck with it. So, I'm in a bucket with this other guy, Bobby Wright. We're in the bucket, knocking down all the fire. All the fire's knocked down, and we start working on the cornice, right? So, I'm pulling the cornice, and I look at Bobby. I'm like, why did you move the bucket? He says, I didn't move the bucket. The building collapsed. So every time I see, he smiles at me. He goes, tell my son the story about, the vacant, Oh, man. But, it's fun. As a deputy, even a battalion chief like myself, I used that experience. I had a vacant down on Timpson Place in like 149, and I saw the SIDS. I got right on the radio. I picked up the radio. I said, nobody goes in that building until I get there. And I didn't let no one in that building, But it's the job of a deputy, and the stuff that's going on now, the deputy's got to put his foot down. Got to,
hold it. Well, some people back is a big thing. You're right, because guys are aggressive.
I mean, so Tommy, what was like a trick? Like, I give you credit because I know that I've been to vacant buildings where we've had 3 or 4 lines in there, and we're in there, and we had no business being in these buildings, Yeah. And we got away. We got away with it. I don't know if I could do that as a chief today. Like, I don't know if I would allow a guy to, guys to go into a building with 3 floors of fire,
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I always, when I was a battalion chief, I always managed to get myself a look at it. I never really was minded anybody's back, but I try to get in and see what the hell was going on, even if it was 10 seconds, you know what I mean? And then I try to always know my guys, too, pretty well. If you're in any place for a long time, all the lieutenants and captains pretty damn good, you know what I mean? Some of them have more sense than others, and some of them don't, So you're on the scene there. And battalion chief, when you get, battalion chiefs, you know them a long, long time. They're reasonable guys. They're not going to let anybody get in their buildings, And you got to come down on them real hard. When they can't go in there, you got to make it your business to say, hey, you're not going in there. Case closed. And once they're in, you ain't getting them out. It's real hard like that.
That's it. You're not getting them out. You're not getting them out.
Yeah. Yeah, just one more room.
So like I've heard that how many times? Jimmy Johnson, I could see in 60 engine. Yeah, we got it. Brown Place is 100 windows of fire. We got it. Like how do you deal with that? Like you just got to just put the foot down and say, listen, out now. That's it.
You got to go with it. And better safe than sorry. That's the answer.
I know a story, and I'm getting conflicting reports on who it was. I thought it was Tom Roby, but then now someone said it might have been John Newell, but it was the 16th Battalion, regardless. They had a vacant over on Lennox. They were in there, 3 engines, 2 trucks, whatever. They were all in there for a while. And the chief, whether it was Roby or John Newell, I'm not sure who it was, says to his aide, "Hey, we have any SIDS on this?" You ever hear that story, Ray?
Nope.
He says, "Tommy, have you heard the story?" I don't know when it happened, but he said, "Is there any
I don't
SIDS
think
on it?"
so.
So anyway, it's Lennox, and the aide gets back to him, "Chief, the SIDS for 300 Lennox, whatever it was, absolutely under no condition should anybody be in that building." He gets on the radio, urgent, everybody out of the building. Do you know when the last guy come out of the building and collapsed?
Yeah, holy shit.
True story. I've heard that from numerous sources, and I haven't nailed down who the chief was. I've heard two different chiefs, but that's a true story, you know. And
nobody sees Roby anymore. Roby moved away, and I would love to see him. Everybody would love to see him.
Right. Well, so, you know, as a deputy now, with these guys that are starting to experience some of this fire duty, it's up to the chiefs, really. You know, the incident command.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
and now,
you have to be.
And
Go ahead.
I would say not only that, but they're dealing also with a very hostile public. I remember we would go to some boxes up by you guys, up by 71 and 55 in the projects on Cortland and you know, and we would be getting attacked. You know, we were getting attacked by the civilians. We're trying to go to a fire, and you know,
really, yes,
we're getting you know. And I remember Frank Trum almost getting into like a rumble with the civilians. We're trying to go up, and they're telling us like, you know, stay out. You know, so you know, this is some of the things that I think what's happening now in the country is that these are things that some of the chiefs have to deal with, and I think what they're going to have to maybe think about, like you guys did. I don't know, did you ever do that AUC 138 with the police car formation?
Oh yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Emergency command procedure. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we had that.
We had to follow the police cars into the block.
I mean,
we had our first rig had a wooden roof. It was a 58 Mac with a wooden roof. What a piece of junk that was. And we had that till 1974. We got a 74 Seagraves after that. But it was unbelievable. But usually most of the people appreciated us, I thought.
I remember going down to Houston and Oak and cornices coming off, you know, flying off the rig, off the rooftops, you know, hitting the rig.
Yeah.
You mean from
in my experience, when I came there, we had really pretty good relations every time we had a fire with anybody. That started, like, I'm going to say around, I don't know, 85, 86, when and it's going to get worse. When the cops are getting the shit beat out of them now, our guys very soon after. It's just going to keep on rolling down the road, you know. And you're all right. Not only chiefs, everybody's got to take care of this stuff, our guys, you know. It's going to be horrible.
It is.
Yeah, I think that's something that has to be brought into the equation, because I think some of these places are getting blindsided now, because they probably go to 1 or 2 fires a week or whatever, and now all of a sudden they got 50 fires going on, you know?
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
So anyway, what I want to do is I kind of want to I wanted to finish on a different note. Tommy, you have an unbelievable story that needs to be documented for all time. I have my own 9/11 story. I remember that day so vividly. I was home. I wasn't working. I was in 58 engine at the time. 58 did respond. I remember it was the Monday night. I saw Tommy Riley's daughter. Remember Tommy? He was the aide that used to drive.
We all knew Tommy.
O'Hagan. John.
He was also in the Union.
Yeah, he's a Union guy. I knew his daughter. And she was telling me about the mass at 73 and 42 with Father Mike Judge and all these guys.
Yeah.
Filled all these there. And I was like so annoyed. I was like, I should have went to that mass, you know.
I went to it. I was there.
You were there, Tom? Oh boy.
Yeah.
You know, it was like,
they lost a lot of guys that were at that mass.
Yeah. So I remember the next morning, because it was my wife's birthday that night, and I remember the next morning getting my 2 oldest girls off on the bus, and my youngest was only kindergarten. I had to drive her to school, nursery school, or kindergarten, and I heard I heard her on the radio, and I thought it was like some kind of like a fluke. I said, it's got to be a whatever, small plane or whatever. And whatever, long story short, I packed up. I was working Tuesday night anyway, so I said, let me get down there. And I got to the firehouse, and 58 had responded. And they had a pretty senior crew. And they got caught in the collapse. And unfortunately, we lost the lieutenant. And, it was kind of a blur after that. You know, there was a lot of, like, stories that I heard. I heard that there was a convoy of 6th Division companies, of 14th Division companies that were held up at the tunnels or at the bridges, and it delayed them enough to not be at the collapse.
There was 1,000 stories.
And Ray, your story was you weren't working that day, but you went. I think you were working.
I went to the firehouse, and 17 was down there. They relocated to 15. They sent them down. This is the second tower came down, so we had to wait. They wouldn't let us go. We had to wait in the firehouse all day. And then they came back, and that was it. We still had to man the firehouse, and I got down there on day two because I got off, and we just went down. We volunteered to go down, and we went down.
Yep.
And
so
we did what we had to do.
So Tommy, now you were a deputy at this point. Where were you in the 6th Division at this point?
I was in the 6th Division. Yeah. When I first came, I went to the 15th Division, and then I got back to the 6th after I forget who, maybe Kennedy or someone like that. But you know, if you don't realize that was primary day, that Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we used to support all the candidates for the primary, stuff like that. So I was on my way down already. You know, I was driving over the Tappan Zee Bridge when I said a plane hit the thing. And I kept thinking about when we were kids, a plane hit the Empire State Building. I don't know if you guys realize that, but it was a small plane, and that's what I thought happened again. You know,
Tom, 1945.
45, yeah. That plane burned out that floor only, Ray. That was a class 1 fireproof. Yeah.
Yep, the Empire
anyway,
State
so
Building.
the Empire State Building, and it burned out one floor only. That's it. It was so good of structural. Okay. Anyway, I went down to the firehouse, and then as soon as we got done, we went down and started watching on TV, and then realized. And then the second plane hit, and we got a bus. We went out, stopped the bus, and there was cops across the street. And I think 48 of us, everybody knew about it. We got on the bus and we went down there, and it was tough going down. The bus driver, threw everybody off the bus, took us. We were down on the bus all the way down to the Trade Center. And then just when we got there, the second tower, and then we had to stop. We walked from the drive all the way across. It was like snowing, you couldn't even see.
Yeah,
like that.
That's exactly right.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, people were walking around, in like zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, walking over the Brooklyn Bridge, uptown. Anyway, they didn't know what the hell to do, but they were glad to see us too. I knew it looked like we were going toward the place, and they said, "Well, these guys will probably do something," but we didn't know what the hell we were getting into at all.
Not bad.
And
I remember driving down from Mayapack, and I was cranking. I had a 4-cylinder Honda, and I had that thing up to like 90 miles an hour. And I got to the firehouse. We did the same thing. I was the first guy in. Guys started coming in. I got a bus on 5th Avenue. I told the guy, I said, listen, we need a bus. And we went down. We went to 53 and 43. Then we went over to 22 and 13, 91 engine. And then we went down, and we came down the east side and came around the bottom. And we saw 15 trucks. I told the guys, get every piece of equipment off 15 truck, airbags, first tools, just saws, whatever they got, just take them off. And we started walking up, and it was like nothing like I can't even imagine. I got to that Liberty Street, and I ran into a friend of mine. He was in rescue too, and I said, Paulie, I said, were you working? And he looked at me with a deadpan face, and he said, Danny, he says, if I was working, I'd be dead right now. And wow, it just hit me like a slug, And my goal was I wanted to find 58 because I knew they were there. And I ran into one of my guys, and they were so banged up. And I have to tell you, this is one of the most heroic stories. And they don't like talking about the story, but the lieutenant's name was Bobby Nagel.
Sure, I know Bobby well.
Yeah, he was there with Joe Marchbanks.
Oh boy.
Freddie Sheffield was there. Freddie was with them.
12th Battalion.
Yeah, the 12th. And they were in the lobby of the hotel. And I finally got to the lobby, and I saw this yellow rope. And the guys were really humble about it. And they told me what happened, that Bobby, his only concern was about the Proby that was working. How's the Proby? And they're trying to dig him out because he's buried. They can still talk to him. They threw a rope down to him. Once they threw the rope down to him, he was on it. They were still digging their way. And then a second collapse occurred. They stayed with him the whole time, but the rope had gotten cut in half. And Bobby had just disappeared. And, you know, we never really found him. But these guys were so heroic. And that was just so typical 58 because they were just tough guys, you know, and they weren't leaving Bobby, you know. But anyway, so we were down there for a few weeks, and then you had come back at some point later, and maybe I should just let you tell the story because it's quite an amazing story.
I
Ray,
know
have you heard the story?
I know the story, Tom.
Yeah.
That's why I think you should tell it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this was like I was down there that day with you too, and I went over to I forget what street it was on the east side of the collapses and all that kind of stuff. And I was there.
Yeah, well, Nick Visconti was running that whole side over there. Remember Nick was running that?
Yeah. And I actually didn't come back until September 12th, 2:00 in the afternoon. That's when I ended up going home, you know.
Right.
But the worst thing about that to me, that we didn't find anybody alive. Like I kind of had on my head. When I saw that plane hit on TV, I knew I thought that it was going to topple. You know, I never in my wildest thought it was going to collapse like that.
Me too.
But when it did, I said, "My God, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people dead here." But when we got to the site, and I thought it'd be people all over the place that we'd be pulling out, and we didn't get anybody. It's like everybody that we got it was heartbreaking for me that we didn't get anybody. I said, "Oh my God Almighty, where did we?" But we kept plugging away there, and we ended up we got a couple of people on the other side, but they didn't make it. You know what I mean? But to get to my story is I was down there really a lot. Like I was down there on the 14th. Like I went home. I was down there. I went home the 12th off 2 days. I went back again. And then I was there all of October. I was there a long time. Sometime in October, truthfully, I can't tell you the date. And now we're on the West Street side, and we got 2 horses with a piece of plywood hooked up, sometime in the middle. And there's all kind of guys. I couldn't tell you, but I would say there was 800 guys on a pile. And, you know, it was a 16-story pile. It's 8 acres around, you know what I mean? And it was guys all over the damn place. So I'm standing there, and everybody's calling you, and it was really, really busy. And all of a sudden, my aide says, "There's a guy here on the back here. He wants to speak to you a minute." And I said, "Tell him to get the fuck out of here." I'm sorry. You know, I was upset. Like I didn't really want anybody telling me what to do. All my mind was, don't get anybody hurt. And further than this mess already we got here, let's try to keep everybody that down here as safe as we possibly can. So now,
it's dangerous.
I say, all right. I look around and go ahead. There's a guy behind me about 3 or 4 feet. He's about a lot shorter than me. He has a blue hard hat on. And he says, "Hey, Chief, are you in charge of this area here?" I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "And I don't know if you recall, remember the pieces of steel that were sticking up out of the rubble? Yeah. Like you see it many times on TV." And I said, "Yeah." So there's guys all up and down of that thing on every single side of the pile, up and down. You could count them. They were like ants all over the place, you know.
Hell yeah.
So this guy says to me, "Listen, Chief, that doesn't look too good to me." It didn't look too good to me either, but I didn't know what to do, you know. He says, "I think that thing's going to fall down, or at least slide down where that steel is." So I said, "Holy shit, I got all these guys." And talk about getting guys out of a thing, you know. So I'm looking at the guy, and I don't know why, the little guy with a blue hat, but he just looked very sincere to me, you know. So I said, "I can't. I got to take that." "Who are you?" He says, I'm Ray Calinan from SB&J Engineering or something like that. I didn't really hear what he said to me, you know, but he looked like a sincere guy. So I said, "All right." So I get on the radio. I start calling all the battalion chiefs on this side, that side. And then I said, "Well, let's get everybody off the damn thing." You know what I mean? Now, there's hundreds of guys working, and they're telling, "This chief, he's a pain in the ass. We're making progress here. We're going to get this." And they'd all, like, as we all know, nobody wanted to go. Nobody wanted to go. I'm going to say it took 2.5 hours to get everybody off that hill. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if everybody was off. But down the very bottom, there was a couple of pumpers down there that were underground that we were digging out. I thought there might be people in there, stuff like that. Anyway, finally I get everybody off 2.5 hours later. I'm looking around, trying to see what do we do now. All of a sudden, there's like a landslide from all around that seal. It goes all the way down, a tremendous kind of rock chair, and whatever debris was down there went down there and filled up about another story on the bottom, and all the way down the hill. Every single guy that was hanging around that hill would have been down on the bottom of the hill underground. You know what I mean? I said, holy shit. I said, boy, I was saying, we're lucky to do that. And someone said to me, geez, Javi.
Yeah. Did you ever get the guy's name?
Give me a minute, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Someone said
that
to me,
like,
geez, how did you ever think of that? And I said,
yeah.
I didn't. This guy did behind me. And so I turned around and looked for the guy.
Yeah.
I looked for the guy in the blue hat. He's gone, you know. I said,
that I have to tell you, Tommy,
Jesus Christ sneaking up on us, saving another 800 or 900 guys. And I was just damn good. I was around to be his agent, you know.
It's just incredible.
Because it was a miracle that anybody didn't get hurt or killed in the cleanup.
It's just amazing. I mean, it was so dangerous, you know, and you know that. I thought you told me he had a white hat because I swear that was an angel. That was God sent him down there to cook.
I would believe that, but I don't know who else would.
I believe it. I mean, man, you told me that
you
story.
Know what?
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was white or blue, or it was a construction helmet, like a little one like that.
Yeah.
And just to make this miracle further, on the 14th, it was raining. I don't know if you call it 7th, 11th, down 11th, 12th, 14th, for the Friday, Saturday night. I was down there again. It was raining like hell. And we had a transit set up on the side of the hotel because someone said that looks like it's moving, you know, straight up and down. It was and we'll just keep an eye on that. If that wall moves, we're going to get everybody out of here. You know what I mean? So it turns out I'm there again like that, and someone said, that wall moved. Look at the transit. So I looked at the transit, and it had moved about an inch. I said, holy shit. So now I get everybody out of there again. But there wasn't, you know, there was only 40-something guys. This was before this. About 40 guys out there. And I believe this guy, whoever the hell told me that the transit moved. It turned out that everybody was looking through the transit, kicking the legs on it and every other damn thing, and it was way out of level, and it didn't collapse. And then I was a little embarrassed that I got everybody out of there, and that's even more remarkable to me.
Right.
That some
Instead
spirit
of like
told
saying,
me to believe this guy the second time, you know, to get everybody out of there. Part of the miracle, too.
I think so, too, because normally a normal person would say, like, yeah, right, why don't you just take a walk? You know, I've done this before, and, you know, Brian Wolf, and, wow, I just, I've said this numerous times that I see Ray at church all the time. We go basically to the same mass, you know, and I believe it, and you too, Tommy, that, we were raised a certain way, and I think that there's someone looking out for us.
Oh, God, yes, sure. Yeah,
there's
right
no other way to.
He looked like anybody. He looked like I don't know who. You know, he looked like Harry Melnichuk, for God's sake.
Harry,
right? Yeah.
Harry, I remember Harry.
I think
you can't forget Harry. I just think it's remarkable is that you turned around and he was gone, because anyone would gloat. They'd be like, "Hey, I told you so, right?" And the guy was gone.
Yeah.
That's the right there. So I got one good. I have a happy story about 9/11. It's happy and sad. We all grew up in the city. We grew up in Irish neighborhoods. Highbridge, Rogs Neck. I was in Woodside, and guys used to wear these clatter rings, right? These new Irish guys. Their grandmothers and mothers would give them a clatter. And I remember one night we were down in October. We're on a pile, and you know how the guys were. They wanted to find our guys, and they weren't so concerned about the civilians. I hate to say it. I mean, it's not that we didn't care about the civilians, but it was an emotional time,
Oh, God.
And I remember that one time, I saw something, there was a clattering, and I pointed it out to somebody. I said, hey, I called it in. I said, we got somebody, and he's got a silver clattering on. It was silver. Most guys, I have a gold one. My grandmother gave me a gold one. Somehow the word got back to one of the firemen from up in the 7th Division, I think 32 truck, who knew someone that was missing that had a silver clattering. He was able to get in contact with the family, and it turns out that it was him. And even though I just felt like he was a young father. He had 2 girls, my kids' ages, and I got to meet the family. They were from Ireland, and she was so grateful that we found her son, and it was like there wasn't a dry eye in the place. It was just they hugged me, and it, even though it's a tragedy in a sense, it was still, for her it was a blessing that we found her son, because if I never said something about that ring, God knows if who knows what would happen, So no, he worked in the Wall Street,
Okay.
So that's just one of thousands of stories, and we're coming up now to September 11th pretty quickly. It's going to be a different time, but
19 years.
Tommy, I hope that story told gets spread throughout, because that story needs to be told. Because man, oh man, if you didn't listen to that guy, God only knows what would have happened. They'd still be talking about it. And that was
every single day after that. Like, I was down there really long. I was there till June. I was there till every other month till it was over. The guys, every chance I got, and I say, listen, this is a labor of love down here. This is an honor and a privilege for us to go down here and find our brothers and get them back to their families, And it was.
It was. I was there in March.
I'm so sad I was there, and I'm so happy I was there.
Yeah, I was there in March, which was when we were wrapping it up, because we were pretty much at the bottom of that bath. Remember that bathtub or whatever? That Tully Road. We were just at I don't want to get into too many details. But we found I know we comforted a lot of families that month. It was like a banner month that month, and it was always it's just even though it was a tragedy, it was just we were able to help a lot of families that month, and that's that's what we're all about. So, Tommy, I'm really honored. It's amazing. We just found out that our families are from the same place in Ireland.
We got to check into that.
We got to check into that. The Calinan family.
Really.
It's just a small world. You were in 58 engine, and in 58 engine. Ray, Ray's in 17 truck. We work together, so we're all connected. And I'm truly honored. Really, when I got on the job, I worshipped you guys. I read that book, 82 engine. All I wanted to do was
Report from Engine 82. Yeah.
Dennis Smith, yeah.
Well, I found out that it was not only 82, but it was 60 and 71 and 41 and 83 and 73.
Yeah, you're right. It was
50 and 85 and it was all of you. And I'm sure in Harlem too, and parts of Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
They all
definitely, yeah.
They all did that. They all did their war years.
Yeah.
So Tommy,
Danny, let me tell you one thing. Before, my older sister is still alive. Like, she's 94. 94. My sister, older sister. Like, I do it. It was 16 years. Anyway, she's our family historian. 4 of my sisters are dead. She's the oldest one. She's still alive. 4 of my brothers, 3 of my brothers are dead. There's 2 of us left here. But she is really into that. She's our family history, and she doesn't know about this. I can't wait to tell her. She'll be delighted to find out all this stuff about it. I'm so glad you tipped me off to that. Psyched out.
I have it all written down, because when the last time I was over there, well, like 2 times ago, we're still very close, And they handed me like a little book, and it's got the whole Calinan from Granard history, like all the, and we have foxes too. I told you we have My grandmother had.
It's gotta be.
My,
Gotta be a connection.
my grandmother had cousin Foxes, James Fox. Unfortunately, he was killed on St. Stephen's Green. But we had Foxes, and they're from Westmeath. So there's got to be something there, Tommy. I'm sure.
Sure, yeah, there sure is. Yeah.
What a
I can't
small
wait
world.
to get it.
Yeah. Well, and we're working on a project for fire engineering, and you're going to be very prominent in the book. So I'm sure Bobby Halton's listening, and he heard that story, and I'm sure he can't wait to hear more about that story. So all you guys out there, I really didn't want to take many questions tonight. A lot of you guys I know listen to this on the podcast later on. I was just awed. I tell you, I got on the job, and I thought these guys walked on waters. If you were 20 years and you were in the 6th Division, you were like a god. You were an icon. These guys, I'm telling you, they made the mold, and we're all now trying to fill their shoes, and I tell you, very, very big shoes to fill. And if I make that,
Danny, before when you were mentioning Joe Kelly, that Ray and I know very well, he broke me.
Yeah.
He took me in on my first fire. Like he was an nozzle man. I was a backup man. He put me under his arm. When I put the fire, I was literally terrified, and he pushed me all the way through the thing. And I was a fireman. Right after that happened, I was a fireman.
My first job was
everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wire did nothing, and Bill Costello took me through the whole thing. He had about 8 months more than me on the job.
Yeah,
he was an experienced firefighter already.
Yeah, well, with that back then, I'll tell you a Joe story. Joe, I worked in his groups, and I'm a probie. I'm scared out of my mind. He's me in the office, and he gives me the whole up and down, and anyway, so I work with him a lot, and let me tell you something. They don't become any tougher than Joe Kelly. And he had a fire. I wasn't working, but let me tell you something. Talk about a miracle, right? Joe is sitting in the office, the 17 truck, and he's listening to the police scanner, right? And he hears a police officer. You ever heard the story, Ray?
I think I did.
He listens to a police officer from the 40 precinct on the radio, look up and says, "There's fire out the windows on the 13th floor of the address, whatever, Alexander Avenue." Joe hears this. He jumps on the pole, turns the company out. They race down there. He runs up the stairs. The father meets him. He says, "My 2 kids are in there." He bolts him and Dusty, this guy Dusty, bolt past the father. They go under the fire. They grab these 2 kids, and they lived. Like Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm golfing with him tomorrow. I'm going to tell him that story.
Hiya, Tom. Hiya, boy.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you something. I was so blessed to have guys like Joe Kelly, Dennis Callipy, Billy Geis, Frank O'Grady.
Callipy's golfing tomorrow, too. Callipy and Kelly both golfing tomorrow.
Wow. Oh, boy. I love it.
They don't make them any better.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. That was a true blessing to be under those guys, wing. And I'm sure they, if you mention it, say that crazy probie, that's for sure.
All right, Tom.
Tommy.
God bless you. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. We'll talk soon.
All right, Danny. Thank you, and keep me in touch with the cannons. All right. I'll get back to you.
Story too, Tom.
All right. Take care, guys.
So my thanks again to Fire Engineering for letting us rebroadcast that episode, and to Tommy Fox and to Ray Calinan, and I hope you enjoyed that rebroadcast. It was an amazing story about 9/11 and what we went through, and I don't know if it came through or not, but Tommy's actions that day, listening to that unknown person, probably saved the lives of hundreds of firefighters at Ground Zero. So until then, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time on The Invisible Hand on the Fire Ground.